You will never build a great life while secretly expecting disappointment. Hope is not enough. Hope says, perhaps it will happen. Expectation says, I have decided what I intend to achieve, and now I will organize myself until the result becomes possible. Those are two entirely different states of mind. A man can hope for wealth while spending without discipline. He can hope for advancement while avoiding the work that would actually make him valuable. He can hope for confidence while repeatedly retreating from decisions. Hope allows contradiction to live comfortably inside it. Expectation demands alignment. If you truly expect to achieve an aim, your conduct begins changing before the result ever appears. You prepare. You study. You become more selective with your time. You stop treating your chief aim like a pleasant idea and begin treating it like an appointment with responsibility. That is the difference. Expectation is not sitting in a chair, imagining victory until the world quietly delivers it to your door. That is fantasy dressed in confident language. Expectation is a mental position that changes behavior. You say, this is where I'm going. Then you ask, what must be true of me if I intend to arrive? Now, the mind begins working differently. It searches for means. It notices opportunities it once ignored entirely. It becomes dissatisfied with habits that quietly contradict the aim. This is why a definite chief aim must be joined with belief strong enough to produce action before proof is complete. Every important undertaking begins before certainty is available. The business is started before success is guaranteed. The book is written before the public approves it. The skill is practiced before mastery becomes visible to anyone else. If you require proof before commitment, you will arrive late to your own life. You need enough faith in the aim to begin building evidence for it. But be careful with your language here. Many men say, I know I will succeed, while living in a manner that quietly demonstrates the opposite. They postpone, they complain, they spend every available dollar, they avoid the difficult conversation waiting for them. Then they call themselves positive thinkers. Positive thinking without organized effort is simply self-deception wearing a confident face. Expect achievement. In a more demanding way than that, expect enough from the future that you become worthy of it now. Today, before it arrives. If you expect to manage greater money, learn financial discipline before the money shows up. If you expect to lead people, govern your own emotions before authority is handed to you. If you expect recognition, produce work worthy of recognition when nobody at all is watching you do it. And preparation is one of the clearest forms expectation can take. A man who truly expects rain carries an umbrella. A man who expects a larger responsibility prepares himself for it in advance. Look honestly at your own preparation. It will tell you exactly what you actually believe, regardless of what you say out loud. You may claim you expect success. Does your calendar agree with that claim? Does your spending agree? Do your associations agree? Expectation leaves fingerprints everywhere. It has genuinely taken hold. It shows up in what you refuse to postpone and what you are willing to sacrifice for it. Schlend. This is why expectation is not merely emotional. It is structural. You build your life around what you actually believe is coming. Whether you admit that belief out loud or not, expectation leaves fingerprints everywhere. It has genuinely taken hold. It shows up in what you refuse to postpone. Suppose a young man says he intends to become a skilled attorney. If he truly expects that future, he studies differently than a man merely hoping for it. He treats reading as preparation rather than punishment. He seeks difficult cases because they sharpen his judgment. He listens carefully to experienced men in the field. The future identity begins influencing present behavior. That is expectation used correctly, quietly reshaping the man before the title ever arrives. And the same principle applies to any worthy aim you carry. Live in preparation for the responsibility you say you want. Do not wait for the title to begin developing the qualities it requires. Do not wait for money to learn stewardship. Do not wait for crisis to learn self-command. Begin before necessity forces your hand, because preparation compounds over time. The man who begins developing leadership only after receiving authority is already behind the responsibility placed in front of him. The man who begins learning about money only after receiving a fortune may lose much of it while he is still learning the lesson. And expectation allows earlier preparation. It asks, if the result came sooner than expected, would I actually be ready for it? That is a useful, uncomfortable question. If the answer is no, do not become discouraged by it. Become busy instead. Identify the gap precisely. Perhaps your bookkeeping is careless. Perhaps your concentration is weak. Perhaps you cannot delegate. Good. Now you know exactly where expectation should send your effort. The aim becomes a teacher before it ever becomes an achievement. Chance. This also changes how you interpret obstacles along the way. The man who merely hopes treats every difficulty as evidence. The dream may not happen after all. The man who expects achievement asks what the difficulty is actually teaching him about the plan. He does not pretend the obstacle is pleasant. He simply refuses to give one single obstacle authority over the entire destination. The method can fail without the aim itself being abandoned. That distinction is what creates real persistence. You try one route, it closes. You study why. Then you try another. Expectation says, the road may change, but I am still going. Be careful how quickly you turn one difficulty into a prophecy about your whole future. One rejection is not destiny. One bad month is not destiny. These are facts. Use them as facts. Do not enlarge them into conclusions they were never built to support. This is one reason a written definite chief aim matters so much. When difficulty arrives, emotion becomes noisy and unreliable. A written aim reminds you what was decided before the difficult day arrived. Read it. Ask whether the reason behind it remains true. If it does, continue intelligently. Tongued. But the statement should contain more than desire. It must answer what you will give in return. That question is what separates a wish from a genuine commitment. Every achievement carries a price: time, study, service, risk, patience, perhaps years of effort before recognition ever arrives. A man who expects achievement does not complain constantly about the price of the very thing he deliberately chose to pursue. He counts the price honestly. He decides whether the aim is worth it. Then he pays without resentment, because sacrifice now has meaning attached to it. You are not merely giving something up. You are exchanging a lower preference for a higher result, and that exchange is far easier to make when the aim itself is genuinely clear. Jinn. This is why some men work hard for years without ever becoming bitter about it. They know precisely what the effort is buying them. Others resent every small inconvenience because they have never actually decided what they want in the first place. Do not live halfway, committed to anything worthwhile. Half commitment creates full exhaustion. You work just enough to feel burdened, but not consistently enough to ever build real momentum. Then you sacrifice just enough to miss comfort, but never enough to produce the actual result. And eventually you conclude that ambition itself is cruel. Ambition was never the problem. Indecision was And expectation is built inside ordinary hours, not dramatic ones. You complete the work when nobody is praising it. You keep the appointment with yourself that nobody else can see. You study when the material is dull. You save money when a purchase would have felt far more enjoyable in the moment. Those quiet actions say, far louder than any spoken words, I still expect the result. Again, you try one route, it closes. You study why. Then you try another. Expectation says, the road may change, but I am still going. This is stronger than repeating hopeful words to yourself in a mirror. Your behavior becomes a form of autosuggestion. Every completed action sends a quiet message to the mind. I am serious. I continue. I prepare. I finish. Repeated long enough, those messages begin changing your self-image entirely. You start seeing yourself as a man who follows through. And that self-image quietly influences the next decision you make and the one after that. Challenge. At the beginning, belief may need to exist with very little evidence behind it. Later, you should create evidence deliberately. Keep promises, build skin, track the small wins as they accumulate, because each one gives expectations something solid to stand upon. Confidence built entirely on imagination remains fragile. Confidence supported by preparation is far harder to shake loose. You know you studied, you know you practiced, you know you survived earlier setbacks and kept moving anyway. Now, when doubt speaks up, you can answer it with facts instead of hope. This is why effort performed in private matters so much more than it seems to. Private effort becomes future composure. The audience sees your confidence on the surface. You remember the hours of study underneath it. The opportunity appears sudden to everyone watching. You know it was quietly met by years of readiness they never witnessed. Do not envy the visible result of another man without respecting the invisible expectation that prepared him for it. A great deal of success looks like luck to people who never saw the preparation behind it. Let them call it luck if they want to. You keep preparing regardless. Do not wait for everyone around you to share your expectation either. They may not see what you see. They may look at your present resources and quietly conclude, the aim is too large for you. Listen to useful facts when they arrive. Ignore unnecessary prophecy from people who were never inside the work with you. Another man's doubt is not evidence against you. Neither, honestly, is another man's enthusiasm for you. Examine the aim yourself. Is it definite? Is it lawful? Does it create real value? Are you willing to pay the price it demands? If yes, then begin. Turned expectation becomes powerful the moment it connects to personal initiative. You stop asking whether someone will eventually discover you, and you make yourself more useful instead. You stop asking whether opportunity will appear, and you increase the number of places where opportunity could meet prepared ability. You stop asking whether confidence will arrive, and you simply perform the actions from which confidence actually grows. This is how expectation becomes practical rather than decorative. It produces movement, and movement produces information that hope alone can never give a man. Once you begin, you discover what the road actually requires of you. The difficulty you imagine may disappear entirely. Another difficulty may appear in its place instead. Good. Now you are dealing with reality, not speculation. Every action gives you feedback. Every result sharpens the plan a little further. You are no longer hoping from a comfortable distance. You are participating. That single shift changes everything about how the road feels beneath your feet. Pronged. But there is a deeper test still waiting ahead. It is easy to expect success, while the first excitement is still strong and fresh. The real question is whether your expectation survives the long period where effort has been given, the result has not yet appeared, and nothing outside you seems willing to confirm you're even on the right road at all. That is the period where expectation stops being a mood and quietly becomes a discipline instead. Anyone can believe while the deeper test only begins when you have done the work, and the result remains stubbornly, uncomfortably quiet. This is where hope tends to become nervous. It begins bargaining with itself. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should lower the aim. Maybe this delay means I was never meant for it. Do not let uncertainty make decisions that should only ever be made by facts. A delay is not automatically a denial. Sometimes the cause simply hasn't operated long enough yet to produce its effect. Okay? You are no longer hoping from a comfortable distance. You are participating. That single shift changes everything. Sometimes your method still needs correction. Sometimes another skill must be developed before the result can appear at all. Your task is not to invent comforting explanations for the silence. Your task is to examine reality honestly, without surrendering the aim too quickly. Has the method actually failed, or has it simply not matured yet? Have you tested enough approaches? Have you asked for competent advice? These questions protect you from emotional conclusions dressed up as wisdom. A man may work intensely for 2 weeks and declare that nothing is happening. 2 weeks may be nothing at all in the life of a serious aim. Another man may repeat the same ineffective method for 2 full years and call that persistence. 2 years may already be far too long. Expectation needs judgment beside it. Persistence without judgment becomes stubbornness. Judgment without persistence becomes hesitation dressed as wisdom. You need both working together. Continue long enough to let sound causes produce results, but correct quickly enough to avoid wasting years on a method that was never going to work. Mind discouragement does not always arrive wearing sadness. Sometimes it arrives as sudden distraction. You suddenly become interested in a new opportunity, a different field entirely. Not because the new opportunity is genuinely better, but because the old one has simply entered its difficult middle stretch. Be careful here. The beginning of a new plan always feels more exciting than the continuation of an old one. Beginning gives the imagination an immediate reward. Continuation demands patience instead. A man can spend his whole life beginning things because he never learned how to remain after the novelty wears off. Expectation says, I chose this for a reason. Let me examine whether that reason still holds before I move. If it holds, stay. Every worthwhile road eventually becomes ordinary. That is exactly the point where character starts to matter more than excitement. This is where organized effort becomes genuinely powerful. When enthusiasm weakens, structure carries you forward instead. You know what must be done each morning, regardless of how you feel about it. The day does not begin with the question, do I still believe? It begins with a better question. What is the next useful action? That single question can save an entire ambition. Belief is often strengthened after action, not before it. A man who performs the next intelligent action gives his own mind new evidence to work with. One conversation reveals information. 1 hour of study removes a piece of ignorance. Action changes the mental condition because it changes the facts actually available to you. Omdi, this is why expectation should always carry a work schedule attached to it. Do not leave a chief aim floating loosely in imagination. Put it on the calendar. What happens Monday? What gets measured on Friday? A dream without scheduled action remains far too easy to postpone indefinitely. Expectation should have appointments. Hope can remain vague forever. Expectation cannot, or it quietly becomes hope wearing a disguise. The quality of your attention matters here too. 2 scattered hours can be worth less than 40 minutes of real concentration. Train that concentration deliberately. Sit with one task long enough to actually enter it fully. Many men possess real intelligence, but scatter it across too many competing interests, then wonder why less talented men quietly pass them by. Concentrated effort often defeats scattered brilliance over the long run. Angle expectation helps concentration precisely because it gives your attention a destination. You know what actually matters, and that allows you to say no to opportunities that don't serve the aim, no to obligations accepted out of vanity, no to conversations that consume force without producing value. This kind of sacrifice may not look dramatic from outside. You may need to remain home and study while others seek amusement elsewhere. You may need to decline an impressive position because it quietly moves you away from the field you actually intend to master. Plan, but investment must remain intelligent, not merely painful. Do not sacrifice simply to feel committed to something. Hardship itself is not evidence of progress. Use your mind. Can the same result be reached through better organization instead? Can specialized knowledge shorten the road ahead? Expectation should make you more resourceful, not more exhausted. The aim was never to prove how much pain you could endure. The aim is achievement, reached by every lawful means available to you. And the day does not begin with the question, "You do I still believe?" It begins with a better question. What is the next useful action? This is where the mastermind principle becomes practical. You do not need to know everything yourself. You need access to knowledge and judgment beyond your own limitations. A man who expects to win is not ashamed to seek help. He is too interested in the result to protect the appearance of already knowing everything. Pride is expensive. It makes men repeat preventable mistakes. But eventually, you must decide. A man can disguise fear as preparation, always needing one more opinion. Set a point where action begins. The road will teach what study alone could not. If a decision fails, study it honestly. What did you ignore? This is how experience becomes capital instead of merely pain. Separate the goal from the method. If the goal remains worthy, improve the method rather than abandoning the aim. A rigid man protects history's plan. A determined man protects the purpose itself and can change roads without feeling he betrayed himself, because the destination was always the commitment, never the first road imagined. And hold firmly to essence and lightly to form. What do you actually want? Independence, mastery, contribution? Do not confuse that essence with one exact picture of how it arrives. Perhaps the opportunity comes through a smaller beginning than you imagined. Expectation should make you persistent, not blind. You be careful with comparison too. Another man reaches his result faster. You do not know the price he paid. Use his progress as information, not humiliation. Large aims often have long, invisible periods. The tree develops roots before it carries fruit. Track leading evidence instead of only the final outcome. Is your skill improving? Are mistakes becoming less expensive? This gives you a better question than "Why am I not successful yet?" Ask instead, which cause needs improvement? Done. There is real power in the word yet. I have not reached the income yet. I have not found the right method yet. So, yet preserves the possibility of continued effort. But action must follow, or yet becomes just another comforting word. Chant. Once opportunity finally arrives, a new test begins, not whether you can pursue success, but whether you can carry it. Success magnifies character. It magnifies a weakness too. A careless decision involving $10 is a lesson. The same decision involving 10,000 can become a crisis. Do not immediately ask what new possessions can advertise the rise. Ask what structure should now become stronger. Reserves, protection. Wealth organizes success so it can continue working. Display merely consumes the evidence of it. Dad, even mature expectation eventually meets its final test. The result arrives, and it does not feel the way you imagined. Money cannot decide what your life means. Do not expect the result to complete you. Expect it to be a tool and a milestone, not a final answer. This is the strongest form of expectation there is. Not I will obtain the thing, but I will become the kind of man who can meet whatever the pursuit demands without surrendering judgment or character. That expectation cannot be taken from you by one disappointing result. It travels with you. And you do not need control over every condition to expect achievement. You need control over your conduct. Expect yourself to prepare, to act, to learn, to persist when persistence is justified, and to change methods when the facts demand it. Do not merely hope that life will someday become what you desire. Expect enough from yourself to become ready for it. Then keep working until expectation is no longer something you say. It becomes the way you live. Do not merely hope that life will someday become what you desire. Expect enough from yourself to become ready for it.